All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a History of Popcorn review. This one is 25 years in the making. We got Space Jam, A New Legacy. The first one came out the year me and Justin were born. And
Yep.
how do we feel about 25 years in the making of a sequel starring LeBron James and the Toon Squad returning?
I actually had high hopes for this, which I knew I shouldn't have. I knew it was going to disappoint me. Like I had a feeling, but I like with all the trailers and stuff, and with LeBron being in Trainwreck, I was like, you know what, this could work. This can work. And Ryan Coogler producing too, and there was like such a great team behind it. But my God, oh my God,
Ryan Coogler should have directed.
It was a chore. It seems like I bet you money he definitely directed the opening scene, because the opening scene looked and felt exactly like the opening scene of Creed. But everything else, I don't fucking know, man. I don't know you can tell that this is one of those movies. I'm just gonna go straight into it. Like you can tell that this is one of those studio movies that there's no real director, there aren't any real writers, there's no real performances. It's just the studio being like, this is what kids want. This is what we're gonna do. There's no yes or no, and whatever we want, we're gonna get. We're gonna get Notorious P.I.G. Stick with it. I don't care what you writers say.
That could have
you know
been
what you don't like
too.
it. Dude, this entire movie could have been way better. The premise for this movie is actually really, really good.
Yeah.
And what I realized, like in the beginning of the movie, I realized, like, dude, this movie should have been about the kid. LeBron should have been kidnapped, and the kid should have been the focus of it, because the kid's a stronger actor and he's way more interesting than LeBron. Dude, LeBron is so bad in this movie. I don't know how Elijah feels about it. I have a lot of strong feelings about this. But I watched Space Jam: A New Legacy, and then I watched the original Space Jam right after. And look, Michael Jordan is not a great actor or anything. But
he hardly talks though. He mostly just like reacts to things. Like he doesn't even actually like drive the movie.
Yeah.
He's not the driving force of the movie. Like LeBron.
Well, the great thing about the first Space Jam is that it's a perfect crossover. I mean, it's not a perfect movie by any means necessary, but it's a perfect crossover where it is just basketball and Looney Tunes, and they have this perfect balance between the two of them. And another thing about the first Space Jam is that they shit on Michael Jordan a lot in that movie. They make fun of how bald he is. They make fun of how old he is. They make fun of his baseball career. Like Michael Jordan, you can tell he does not have a big ego, even though he's one of the greatest basketball players, most well-known basketball players of all time. Now it's cut to Space Jam: A New Legacy. Holy shit, dude. This entire movie should have been called, we're just going to suck LeBron James and Warner Bros. Is going to be the entire time. And that's what it should have been called, because this was the things that they did with the Looney Tunes. I just thought was so insulting as somebody that just loves them so much, especially to Bugs. Oh my God, man. They fucked my boy up. So they got my boy fucked up, man, in this movie. But overall, I mean, like, no, well, just really quick before, because I want to hear what you have to say. But overall, I just think that it was such a wasted opportunity, and they just put way too many eggs in the basket. And the main thing that I just like, the second I finally like started getting pissed off was the animation. The 2D animation was so flat. Most of the animation in this movie I thought was just obnoxious, and the 2D animation parts especially I thought were just so fucking flat, especially if you watch the first Space Jam compared to this, or just watch any Looney Tunes. Watch Looney Tunes back in action, and you'll notice that there's so much going on with the characters. But this one, it's so fucking flat because they spent all their goddamn money on Game of Thrones references and getting other basketball players to look the way that they did. Like, I cannot believe this movie. Okay, I'm done. Elijah, take it away.
Well, I realized this was going to be a problem of a movie when the opening credits were going, because it was like, that was a good opening credits because that was kind of reminiscent of the first Space Jam. But when I saw that there were 6 screenwriters on this movie, I was like, so people don't agree on anything. I felt like this movie was just a bunch of post-it notes of scenes, and then they just edited it together. And it was like, well, where is the driving force of this story? Like, getting the assembly of all the Looney Tunes happened way too fast. Everything happened
Yeah.
way too fast, and the directing and editing was so bad and so off pace that it was just like there's a moment where he's like they're on the bench or something, and it'll cut to like Bugs Bunny doing something random, and then cut back, and it'll just be like they don't even really acknowledge it, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's not a good movie. This is one of the lower ranking movies that I'm actually gonna have in probably in a while. I was so disappointed because I love basketball and I loved that they had real basketball players in it. I was excited to see those real basketball players be featured and written into a story that makes sense. Like in the first Space Jam, they have all the basketball players practicing
So
together,
funny.
and then they get
Yeah.
possessed by the Monstars because they're like, well, these players are good. And this one is just like he's designing the game and he has these character avatars, so it's not even the real players, and then they just like they're just sitting in like the algorithm of the game for a second, and they're like, this is our team out of nowhere. It's like now they're there, and it didn't make sense. There's
Mhm.
no driving force behind anything. There's just like moment by moment by moment of like, well, Bugs Bunny's sad and alone. Oh, well, let's kill him. Okay, how does he come back? I don't know, he's just back in the end. And so
Yeah.
it was just like moments like that just as a writer and a wannabe director, I don't like what they did at all. It seemed very unthoughtful. It was a very unthoughtful movie. I think it's mostly animated like that because LeBron was like playing basketball and stuff. They're like, well, we have to make this movie still while he's working. How can we do that? Let's just make half the movie animated so we can just get a
Mhm.
voice role. Oh, I didn't like it. I was really disappointed.
I just think like it was such a wasted opportunity to like how they treated the 2D animation. The animation was the thing that really killed it. And I think they really screwed themselves the 2D animation because the idea is so good where it's like LeBron is animated and they're jumping into all these different universes to get the
Mhm.
Looney Tunes. That's a great idea. And honestly, that probably should have just been the movie. But
Yeah.
but instead it's like, and the way that they go about like having these Looney Tunes be in these certain universes was so lazily done. It was so lazy, like, and it was
Yeah.
just like one joke. You can like exactly what you said. It's just someone had a post-it note of just like um uh
Here's the next scene.
Wile E.
We'll draw
Coyote and Roadrunner. Of course, they're gonna be not
Mad
Maze Runner. What
Max.
the fuck, Mad Max, and Elmer Fudd. He looks just like little mini me. Put him in Austin Powers. Uh, uh, Daffy Duck. The Daffy Duck one was the only thing I think they actually thought about because they spent
Yeah.
a lot of time in the DC world, and I actually thought that those were like clever, like it was more clever. But the animation just distracted me. Just how bland it was, and it was just so you can tell that there weren't. It was just cynically made. Like you can tell there was no real heart or love put into this,
Yeah.
and the jokes that they have for LeBron are just so weak because they're just there's no like he's not humanized at all. Like that's what I loved about the first Space Jam. Like Michael Jordan can't act for shit, but at least they humanized him and they made him seem like a real person. And
Mhm.
he replicated himself in a way where he's very humble, where he's just like he's making fun of himself. He's willing to make fun of himself. But this movie, you can tell that if anybody made a LeBron joke, that person was fired immediately. Like, get the fuck out of here. You do not say that about the king.
I didn't like the
Dude,
character he played either. He was supposed to
no, he
be
was
a neglectful dad. He never really
dude,
he I thought at the end he was gonna let his son shoot the last shot and like pass the ball and win the
mhm.
game, but nope, he decides to take the shot himself because he's LeBron James.
Dude, and the Rick and Morty.
Yeah, yeah, that was weird. That was really weird.
See, I cannot believe they took away Pepe Le Pew. Like, I get it. I can't believe they took him away. But then they get Rick and Morty, these murderers, little
Yes.
murderers. They kill
Yeah.
people. They killed their own family and then replicated them millions of times. And then they have Pennywise and the Clockwork Orange guys. Like,
Were they still in it? I didn't
they're
spot them, but yeah, they were in the
yeah,
trailers.
dude. And did you like that was another thing I hated was the character designs for these classic characters. Them watch
Yeah,
it,
they had
it felt
Mr.
like Halloween.
Freeze.
It
Yeah.
felt like Halloween City or Party City
Yeah, it's
type of
like if you can't
costumes.
get Arnold
Oh,
Schwarzenegger to come back for Ice or Mr. Freeze, then don't bring him back.
uh, and this movie cost $150 million,
It's
and I
ridiculous.
honestly I don't see where it went. Like I know it went like with the animation stuff, but the animation isn't even really that fucking good. Like I don't know what the hell they did, and I can't believe Ryan Coogler was attached to this because it's so it is aggressively bad and cynical, and it's something I would never think that he would attach his name
on.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
like I thought like
he
he
was
would have
going to
more
direct it,
class than this.
but then he handed it off to some other guy, and then they handed it off to someone else. Malcolm D. Lee, I should have realized, was not a good choice. He directed
No,
Scary
he's
Movie
awful.
5. He directed Scary
Yeah.
Movie 5. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
You can tell he's just like a studio director. Like I bet you money he was never even on set. But okay, we're shitting on this, but let's talk about the one and only saving grace of this film. I think that you and I will agree with this, and it's our man Don Cheadle. I thought
he
Don
sold it. He
Cheadle
sold his
was
role.
the
He sold
only and him and the kid. I thought the kid that played LeBron's son, he did a great job. I thought that the movie really should have focused on him because he actually had a great arc. He had a fantastic arc of realizing that, oh shit, technology can be actually a bad thing. This can actually hurt me. That was like really, really effective. And Don Cheadle, he was just so good. Like I thought that the dialogue that he had was awful, absolutely awful, but I thought he did a really good job. Like I love the part
it though. He believed all the things he was saying.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. But the thing is, like the way they introduced his character, I always thought in the trailers, I think you and I talked about this too when we saw the first trailer. I thought they were gonna do a joke like where he's like a literal algorithm, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna become a human. Who should I be? And he's like, he watches.
That's what
a Don
me and my
Cheadle
brother
movie,
said too.
Like,
we're like, is anyone going to acknowledge that he looks like Don Cheadle?
Yeah,
that would have been great. Like that would have been awesome.
No, yeah, but totally. Like I don't like. There's so many things in this movie that make no sense. Like, do you remember the part when the basketball game starts? There's literally a shot of Don Cheadle getting everybody together, like getting all humans to be on their side, and then it does a cut, and the Toon Squad, they just have their uniforms.
Yeah, there's no unboxing of them like the first movie. We're like, look, we're a team now. Yeah, there's none of those moments of like, there's no moments like that they needed. It's not even gonna age well either. Like Space Jam, like people didn't really like Space Jam when it came out. It became a cult classic because it aged well, and everyone's like, oh wow, it's a good movie. Yeah. It's a good kids movie.
Well, even with like some of the gnarly CGI in that movie, the 2D animation and like the live action hybrid is so good and still holds up to this day.
Yeah, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit style.
Exactly. And don't even get me started on like how I cannot believe that Looney Tunes Back in Action was the thing that killed any more Looney Tunes movies to come out, because that movie is so much better than this and Space Jam, and people are still not fucking talking about that movie, which is just ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I would give this movie like honestly like a 1.9. I'd give it pretty.
I agree with you. I will.
I had a lot of hopes for this because I love basketball. I loved the Looney Tunes. My brother actually wants to get a Bugs Bunny tattoo with a basketball because he loves both of those so much individually, and Space Jam is just the perfect. And so I watched it with him too. Like I said, I didn't see this movie in theaters because we wanted to go with a group of people, but everyone was like had different plans. So we're just like, let's just watch it at midnight on HBO Max, and we did. And I'm glad that I didn't see it in theaters because it would have been so upsetting just sitting there. I've kind of like I was really disappointed with this movie. I liked the basketball players a lot, and I thought they should have utilized them like they did with Charles Barkley and stuff, where you're like, oh yeah, these are real people, but they really washed them out. But you can't even really tell that it's them. I mean, you can't tell with the Monstars, but like before, they're like, I'm Charles Barkley, and I'm like all those famous players back then. They like gave them emphasis of who they were and built them up a little bit.
And they gave them jokes too.
Yeah,
like that's another thing. The first movie had jokes. Like no matter how badly the dialogue is in that movie and how bad Michael Jordan's performance is, it's still funny. There's still really great jokes. Like Bill Murray when he shows up at the end and Daffy's like, how'd you get here? He's like, oh, I'm a friend with the producer because Ivan Reitman produced it. And that's it. That's all you get.
The director wants to make a third one already with fucking Dwayne Johnson. It's like, come on, stop it.
They're not going to do it. This movie's not
it's not going to make
money.
it. It's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not going to go well. But yeah, this movie's bad. 1.9. If you want to watch it on HBO Max, do it. Don't go to the theater. I never say that.
Yeah.
Don't pay that extra money.
it's worth seeing. And that's another thing. I love the memes for this. People calling it Ready Player 2 A New Legacy. But my favorite one is HBO Max A New Legacy. Because that really is what it is. This is
all
just
their
an
properties.
HBO Max commercial. Like, what can you get? You can get Austin Powers, you can get all the Mad Max movies, you can get all the Matrixies, and that scene made no fucking sense, man.
None of it made sense. Yep. Not good movie.
Yeah.
So, but thanks for coming to this review. Hopefully you come to our next one.
Yeah, fucking sucks.